Hello, I'm Matthew Rodriguez, and this is my final reflection video for CE 300, Engineering Business Practices taught by Professor Seeger. So I will be talking about the bad and good aspects of what I think the class was. So the good aspects of the class I thought was that it gave you a personality test, which not just a personality test, it was a business side personality test, and Crystal knows. It gave you a detailed explanation of what kind of team player you are, how you fit into a team, and how your team members should communicate with you, and how you should communicate with your team members, which I thought was very helpful because it was things that maybe a lot of people already knew, but the fact that it had it on paper and you were able to read it, I thought really helped a lot of people, including myself. Another good aspect I thought of the class was it gave you a chance to mess up in some professional ways without there really being any consequences. So what I mean by that is it allowed you to make mistakes where it didn't count. This class obviously counts for a grade, but the grading I felt like was very lenient. So it was mostly just an experience to do it, and not when you're in the real world, in a real whatever situation for engineering where it really matters, you mess up here instead of messing up in the job that you have where it could have long-term effects on you. So I thought that portion of the class was very helpful. Another portion of the class was that the lectures were very interesting. It taught you a lot about different subjects, from fundamentals of engineering ethics. It taught you about taxes. It taught you about a whole variety of different things that I thought was very interesting to myself. And I know a lot of other people found it interesting too. And it was an open style classroom, so there was always a discussion going on. There wasn't just the teacher talking to you. Everyone was kind of communicating with each other and giving their own opinions on the topic. But some of the bad things I thought of the class were that there was a lot of different things to get used to. What I mean that is there was a lot of different websites that you would have to use. I think there was a total of 3 or 4. And at the beginning of the semester, it was very hard to balance which does what. For like the first month, it was, where does this go? Where should I look for this? And I thought that was very confusing, where I thought they could probably just cut that down to maybe 1 or 2 websites instead of having to check 4 different ones when you're not sure what goes where until midway through the semester. Another bad aspect I thought is a lot of the times what Professor Seeger would teach was not necessarily what you were graded on. I know for like the tests and sometimes even the homeworks, Professor Seeger would talk about one subject for an hour, and then for 15 minutes he would kind of briefly touch on something that your homework was based on and what the test was based on, because it was kind of annoying sometimes when you talk for an hour with him about this certain subject and then that would just be kind of thrown to the wayside. And then another thing about the class is it's what you make of it. If you go into the class just kind of, I'm going to sit here for an hour and 15 minutes and not listen to Professor Seeger because I don't necessarily like the way he teaches, you're going to just sit there for an hour and 15 minutes and waste your time. But if you go in just willing to listen, willing to talk to the guy, I think it's more beneficial to a lot of people than just sitting there, which I know some people did because they didn't like Professor Seeger. So that is my final reflection for CE 300 Engineering Business Practices.